This is an interview conducted between ourselves from Wise Owls. My name's Chris Walsh, I'm the director of Wise Owls, with a team of volunteers from Italy in relation to a series of questions which we have asked, and we hope that people who are listening to this will be interested in. And so I'm going to start by asking Antonio, in relation to the relationship between the young and the elderly inside the workplace. The definition now of a generation gap used to be 10 years. The new definitions seem to be workers who are young are under 25, workers who are old are over 50, and the middle-aged workers are 25 to 49. These three groups seem to be, sometimes some people say, at odds with each other. And often there is the accusation that older people are blocking the jobs of younger. Meanwhile, we seem to have a lot of very good examples that where you have an age-diverse workforce, in fact, business works well together and more younger people are employed. Would you like to comment about how you feel this applies in the workplace environment from your experience?
Well, I think that in the workplace, this difference between younger and olders can cause some conflicts because the age could be a topic that could give some obstacles on cooperating and team working that are essential for a company, for the development of the company itself and for the professional growth of all employees.
Go. What do you think are the main motivations for this difference between workers?
Well, as we can easily understand, the young people are more interested to the mobility. They do not like static works and repetitive works. Their willing is to have everything in a very short time. All the employers may have different job values. For example, retirement plans, health insurance, or pension benefits. These differences could affect how they do their job.
However, do you not think that there are also examples of how intergenerational work can help both the younger and the older and the employers, with older people giving their experience and managing and training younger people, and younger people bringing in their enthusiasm and their knowledge of new technology?
Yes, for sure. The experience of the older people is essential, in my opinion, and the managers should pay attention to this opportunity given by the older people, that they can give their experience to the youngers and cooperate with them. On the contrary, the young people are more eligible for new ideas, for a new way of thinking, for changing the rules, you know. So this is a way to evolve, in effect. But sometimes there are problems and discrimination exactly on the age, because the young people they are seen much more productive than the elders. The elders are considered too slow, probably, in their work. And the older people sometimes are not more accepted when they reach 50 years old or 55 or even 40 years old. So in our organization we have a sentence that is gives the exact idea of the situation, that is too young to retire and too old to work. This is exactly the discrimination.
And do you think there are discriminatory interests on the part of employers?
Sorry.
However, there seems to be very positive experiences from organisations, certainly in England, like McDonald's and many of the supermarkets, and in Germany in the car industry, where older people are allowed to be more flexible in work time, but also to move away from the immediate dynamics of the front line and be more training, motivating, mentoring young people. And in that situation, they've shown not only increased profit, but also increase in the number of young people being employed when older people are retained. So from my perspective, I think you're perhaps being overly pessimistic.
Yeah. Maybe you are right. You mentioned Germany. Maybe in Italy, I don't know if it could be the same situation, because what we are experiencing now in Italy is really the fact that the older people are not, let's say, considered. So they are not. The government, the institutions, the managers are not asking to the older people to support the job, the work, the young people, and so on. For example, I can bring my personal experience. When after 36 years of work in multinational companies, they told me that due to the general crisis, they had to cut the costs. So I became an unemployed person, and I was 55, 2 sons, my wife not working since 20 years. The 2 sons, they were studying. So it was really very difficult for me to find a new job. I tried many times to find any job, but I was not able to find it until a couple of years when I was able to find temporary jobs, and this was a situation that I had for 5 years. So temporary jobs, very low pay, and no contributions for my pension. That is really a mess. And after that, fortunately, I found the way to retire. Now I am retired, and I am a volunteer of ATDEL for over 40.
Thank you. If we could then move to the role of women in society, achieving... So,
okay, go.
The role of women in society in achieving equality and of opportunity in social, economic, political roles is critical. How are these remaining unchanged over the years? And how do you think things are now changing at the moment, whether for the better or worse?
Well, there are still a lot of critical situations that are penalizing women, like wage gap, occupation segregation, poor presence in decision-making level, reconciling work and family life, for in employment, part-time and mainly in family.
Do you think that equal opportunities is a positive thing, or is it a trap?
Following in Treaty of Lisbon, equality of opportunity is valued tall In reality, this principle and theory are not actually unplayed.
And in relation to maternity and employment, what do you think are the factors that negatively impact on women and work?
The choice of fertility and through said the exogenous factory diversity. Cost to keep a child, the couple have so normally less than is would like, worsening of the economy and employment condition of young women who remain dependent on their parents. Parental leave is not cost effective. Lack and service for baby. 43% of managers prefer the career to have children.
May I also ask, how expensive is childcare in Italy? Because in England, the cost of childcare is enormous, particularly in London, which means if two people are working, often one person's salary goes just to pay for childcare. What is the situation for childcare for working women in Italy?
But it's very, very difficult as a situation for women in work, because in non-payment, these women from child is not don't have work for women. Okay.
Okay, thank you. And then in relation to the fight against the age discrimination and social conditions, what do you think? Okay. What do you think of the discrimination? How would you define discrimination in that respect?
But in general, I think this discrimination is that a person who suffers an injustice, maybe at work, maybe in family, maybe everywhere.
And you think they suffer this injustice because of their age or their
yes, could be age, could be when you're too young. So it's not so easy to define exactly what is discrimination. But surely there are a lot of forms of different discrimination, and so also the injustice in our society.
For you, what do you think are the chief areas of discrimination in relation to our society?
For me, surely, in my experience, surely women in work, also aged people. Another form of discrimination, not so clear, as psychological pressures, mobbing, because it's difficult to show. If you go to the justice, it's very, very difficult to show, to demonstrate that you are mobbed. You are, so understand? Because it's a psychological form to discriminate people, maybe at work, and maybe if you are aged, maybe if you are a woman. Maybe in Italy, if you are a woman with maybe waiting a child, sometimes it's easy. She is discriminated,
In England, the equality legislation applies to equality for people regardless of their gender, men or women, regardless of their age, regardless of their ethnic origin or colour, regardless of their sexual activities or orientation. because of disabilities and also because of belief or faith. In my experience, the equality which has the least impact or acceptance or activity taken against it is age. We feel that age is probably the least of the equalities being supported. But what appears to us in England to be clear is the idea of a multiplier. If you are a woman, if you are somebody from a different ethnic background, and you are also old, the possibility of unemployment and the difficulty of employment increases. So you have not just one discrimination, but a combination of discriminations.
Yeah.
Yes. How do you feel that applies in Italy?
In Italy, I think it's quite the same. Maybe we are full of different rules, different laws. We have also trade unions, some strong, but the discrimination there is everywhere, and so it's very, very difficult to fight this kind of discrimination because the government and also generally the other institutions, are not, in my opinion, are not enough prepared to fight really this kind of discrimination.
And do you think that the economic crisis is contributing to an increase in discrimination?
Yes, because it's the simple way to cut expenses, social expenses. And so, for instance, in the last global government is full of cut in the social expenses. So the economic crisis is very, very important in how the government will choose the different economic strategic expenses for the school or other, for the aged people, for worker fired, and so on.
Yeah. So it's often used as an excuse.
Yeah.
And to pick on the weak.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And now to move on to Adriana and Domenico about the Evolve experience in London. How do you consider your experience of activity here in London?
I consider myself very, very lucky because I was given this opportunity, and I think, well, I'm sure that even for my colleagues it's been the same, so a very successful experience. For some reasons. The first one was the opportunity to visit London not as a tourist but in the real life. So we have, of course, an apartment and we had to buy food. So we had to go into the supermarkets. We could, of course, we compared the prices. And we could find some strange things like Italian food that sometimes cost less than in our supermarkets, or other stuff like shampoo, In Italy they are very expensive. You can find them here in a very low price. So apart from the transportation and flat rent, we could notice that the living expenses are not so high. And consider that in Milan and Rome, the flats are really expensive, like in London. So compare the two situations and the wages, the average wages, we say that it's a better situation than Italy. That regarding the living cost. About we could notice, for instance, that everybody here is connected with projects. So there's a project culture that in Italy is missing quite a lot, because we, for instance, we haven't got the same information as you have about European Commission, for instance, or European projects, or just only the trusts. In Italy, we have the problem of the organization, non-profit organization that always miss funds, but because it's very difficult to get them, and let's say that there are not so many grants or calls issued by the institution or funders. So we have that problem, so shortage of funds, of grants, and shortage of people who makes projects, I think.
And also, do you think that by coming here and meeting with other older activists and seeing the town from the point of view of people who live in London has made it a better experience for you?
Yes, I don't understand very well the question.
Do you think it is has been a good experience for you because you have been with other English older people who live in London?
Yes.
Good. We are expecting that we will also, when we go to Rome, be able to see the real Rome and not just the tourist Rome.
Absolutely.
But I have to say, we are so impressed by your English, and we hope very much we can be half as good as our Italian.